everybody, my name is Mars, you can call me MG if you would like, and today is December 30th, so I will be doing my scavenger hunt to figure out what my first read of the year is going to be. I normally do this on the 31st, but I will be out all day tomorrow. I'm going to a hockey game in the afternoon, and then some event at, like, the actual end of the day to celebrate into the new year, so I just won't have time to do this tomorrow. Doing it today. This is the third year that I'm doing this, fourth year maybe, where I'm doing a scavenger hunt to pick out the first book I will read in the new year. I think it is so much fun. I have a grand old time doing it every single year. This year I have made my own questions, which I think I've done once before. Sometimes I use my own questions, sometimes I use other people's book scavenger hunt questions. This year I've made a brand new list of prompts, and the first one that we are starting off with is to pick the starting book, and to do that we're just going with my most recent read, the last book that I will have been reading in 2025, and that is Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. I don't have it physically, I read it as an ebook, so I'll just have the cover up here for you guys to look at. It's a very pretty cover, I do really enjoy it, but I wanted to finish out the year with a final book in a series just to kind of wrap something up and feel a little bit accomplished. So that is what I did. Step 2 is to take that book's page count and reverse it and find a book with the page count of that new number. Now, the ebook of Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales has 357 pages, which means I have to find a book with 753 pages or thereabouts. I can't think of any off the top of my head. The only, big books that I know the page numbers of are, Priory of the Orange Tree has 804. I know that for a fact for some reason. Day of Fallen Night has about 850, so that's even further off the mark. I don't know. I do have some chunky books. Let me actually grab a few, and we will look over them together to see which one is the closest to 753. Okay, so I ended up grabbing these 3 books because they seem the closest to 750 just from looking at them. So we're going to check the page count together. This is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, and it is 722, so about 30 pages off. Not bad, but we'll see if we can get closer. We have Brissinger by Christopher Paolini. I was gonna grab Inheritance, but that looked way too long, and that ended up being 1,000 pages. So I'm like, okay, Brissinger is slightly shorter, so maybe 750. But this is, ooh, actually 748, so only 5 pages off. I think we have a winner here, but let's check the last one just to be safe. We have Ink Death by Cornelia Funk. And this one is only 663, so definitely farther off. So I guess our second book is Brissinger, the third book in the Inheritance cycle, and it is almost exactly 753 pages, only a little bit off. The next question to find the third book in our link is a book with the opposite color scheme. So this is pretty monochrome. This is bright gold because that's the color of the dragon on it, but it's also got some black. So maybe I want to find something with a lot of colors and something bright. I mean, this is bright, but in a different way maybe, because this still feels very shadowy because of the design of it. I'm thinking that is my best bet, so let me have a look and see what I've got. Okay. So, looking at Brissinger, we're trying to find the opposite color scheme of this book, and what I have gone with is Backhanded Compliments by Katie Chandler. For one, it is a lot brighter, it's very vibrant, and it does have more variety in the color because it is mostly blue, but it's got a little bit of purple, a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. I think this definitely feels quite opposite in a lot of ways, but especially in terms of the color scheme. So now we have this book to build off of, and I want to find a book with similar tropes or vibes. So this is a sapphic adult romance, And I actually do have another sapphic adult romance, so let me grab that, and that will be our next link in this chain. So we've got a sapphic adult romance, and we've got another sapphic adult romance. This is Strength Check by Catherine McIntyre. This is, like I said, sapphic adult romance following two women who become roommates because of different circumstances leading to them needing roommates, and they end up falling in love. It's very nerdy. Our one main character owns a game shop, and I think it was a lot better than I was expecting. Not in terms of like the actual book, but in terms of my taste. I'm not a contemporary romance fan usually, but I had a really fun time with this one, and I do still have to check out the rest of the series. They're all queer, and they all center around these like nerdy kind of hobbies, so I am curious as to how I'll get along with those. But we do have our next link, and so we can move on to the next prompt, and that is to find a book whose first letter is the same as the last letter in this one. So we have Strength Check, a K. Do I have any books that start with a K? Actually, I'm not sure. Nothing is coming to mind. Give me a moment to look at my shelves and try and find something. Okay, that was actually a lot easier than I thought it would be. My book that starts with a K is Kindred by Octavia Butler. I love this book. It's so good. I definitely need to read more from this author. I've read a couple of other books, but she has so many more that I need to check out, so I better get on that. But the next prompt is to look at how many hundreds of pages this book has and then find a book with that many words in the title. So this is 200 and, not that we need an exact number for this, 264 pages, so it's in the 200s, so I have to find a book with 2 words in the title, and I did just accidentally look ahead at the next prompt, and it's one that involves some randomizing that might be a little bit difficult, so I'm actually going to grab a couple of books that have 2 words in the title just to give me some options should I need it. Alrighty, I grabbed 5 books for us to get some options here. I grabbed Hex Hall by Rachel Hawkins, Seven Sorcerers by Caro King, Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross, Graveyard Shift by ML Rio, and The Maidens by Alex Michaelides. The next prompt is to open up your book to a random page, find a random word on that page, and then find a book with that word in the title. So that's why I wanted to give myself some options in case the first one didn't quite work out and give me any good words. We're just gonna start with the top of the stack and open to a random page. Oh, I opened to chapter 11. So we've got, what would these words, none of these words seem like they would be in a title. Fly swatter, definitely don't have that. Pointy wooden stick. Inner warrior princess? I definitely have a book with princess, so we might be good just off the bat. Yeah, okay, well, princess, definitely a word in a title. Actually, I can think of one right off the top of my head, so I guess I didn't need these ones after all, but thank you for your service anyway, books. We're gonna go with Hex Hall, and the word that I have to find in the next title is princess. So the book that I have with princess in the title is Princess Academy by Shannon Hale. This actually would have worked for the previous one because it also has 2 words in the title, but you know what? It still works. It fit in here. That was actually a lot easier than I was expecting it to be, this whole random word thing. I don't know why I put that question in there, but it's fine. We got through it all right. The next prompt, we are closing in on the end. Only a few more to go before we figure out what book I'll be reading. But the next prompt is to find a book with a similar cover layout. So this cover, we've got the title up top, and then the actual image, a person taking up the large majority of the space. I don't think I'll find any other books with an award on it. I maybe have like one, but I'll see what I can do. But yeah, I think those are the two things we're mostly looking for, is the title being at the top and then the majority of the image being taken up by a person on the cover. So let me have a look at my shelves and I will find something. Actually, I did manage to find a book with an award on the cover, and it's the same award. So Princess Academy has a Newbery Honor Award, which means it was like a runner-up for the Newbery Award, and I actually have a book that was a Newbery winner. So that is The Girl Who Drank the Moon. Looking at them side by side, they're not exactly the same, but they both have the title at the top of the page, a central design element is a person on the cover, and then they have the awards in the bottom corner. So are they exactly the same cover? No, but it's the same layout, and that is what we were going for. So now we can move on to our next prompt, and that is to read the acknowledgments and find an author who shares either a first or last name with someone in the acknowledgments. Or I guess if they acknowledged someone who I have a book by them on my shelf, I could just use that person. I didn't even think of that until now, but going to the back, got the acknowledgments. Oh, this is done nicely, little bullet points. Thank you, Kelly Barnhill. This is The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. I don't know if I said that out loud when I brought it up, but this is our next book. But let's see what names we have to work with. We have Anne Ursu, Brian Bliss, Steve Brezanoff, Jodie Cromie, Carlin Coleman, Christopher Lincoln, Curtis Scaletta. We've got Elise Howard and Stephen Malk. So I already don't think any of those last names are going to match anybody on my shelf. At least nothing is coming to mind. So for first names, we've got Stephen with a V, so I can't use Stephen King because that's with a PH. We do have a Stephen. We've got Elise, Brian, Steve, Jodie, Carlin, Christopher, Curtis, and Anne. I think I've got something. Give me a second. The name that stuck out to me from those options was Anne, and the very first thing that came to mind was my own friend's book. We have Removable Echo by Anne Sophie. Perfect. And this is our last link in the chain, because the next book is going to be the one that I will be reading as my first book in the new year. And the last prompt in order to actually pick out that book is to find a book from my TBR that is in the same genre as this one. So this is dystopian science fiction. So I can only think of one dystopian book on my TBR, on my physical TBR at least. So I think that's going to have to be it, but I will take you over to my TBR cart and show you around a little bit, just in case I miss something. Although I am very excited for the book that is coming to mind, I just want to make sure I look over all of my options if I have any other ones. So this is my TBR cart, and we do have a book that I forgot about. So Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, I'm like 95% sure is dystopian fiction. I believe it follows the world after a like massive plague kills off a bunch of people. I have read Emily St. John Mandel before, and I thought it was alright. I read Sea of Tranquility, and it was good, but definitely not my thing. I am still interested in Station 11, which is why it's on my TBR, but I think I'm gonna go with the book that I had remembered initially, which is up here on this top shelf. We've got The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, which I have been wanting to read for a while now. So let me head back to my desk and chat about it for a second. So the book that I will be starting off the year with is The Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, which is another award winner. This apparently won the Hugo Award in 2016, so that's pretty cool. I was going to read this a couple of months ago. I did a vlog where I think it's actually part of the Magical Readathon. I like read the first couple of paragraphs, the first page maybe, of a few books, and decided based on my first impressions which one I wanted to read, and this almost got read, but I ended up going with Grave Mercy instead and really enjoyed that book, so I'm glad that I did. But I have been thinking about this book since then because that first page was so intriguing. So this is the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy, And I am going to give myself a pass, actually, because if you've been around for any amount of time, you know that I'm in the middle of so many series, and so in 2026, I've got rules in place so that I don't start a million more series without continuing catching up on or completing other series. Those are the 3 ways I can kind of like unlock a new series that I'm allowed to start. But the final book that I read in 2025 was the final book in a series, so I'm allowing myself to start a new one with this first one because it's my game and my rules, so it's what we're going with. But yeah, this is the first book in the Broken Earth trilogy, and it says, "This is the way the world ends for the last time. It starts with the great red rift across the heart of the world's sole continent, spewing ash that blots out the sun. It starts with death, with a murdered son and a missing daughter. It starts with betrayal, and long dormant wounds rising up to fester. This is the stillness, a land familiar with catastrophe, where the power of the earth is wielded as a weapon, and there is no mercy." That sounds so good. I might see if the audiobook is available on Libby. Probably not, because this is like a really popular series. But if it is available and I can listen at the same time as I'm reading, that would be a lot of fun. I love taking in books that way. But if not, I'm still gonna have a good time just reading it. That was a very loud bus. I apologize for all the cars going by during the course of me filming this. I live on a pretty busy road. There's nothing I can do to help it, but we've picked out our book, and now I just have to wait 2 days before I can actually start reading it, so that's fun. But at least it's one that I'm very excited for. It's a little bit chunky. It is, what, like 450, I would guess? Oh, there's multiple appendices. 449! Look at that. I'm so good at guessing how long books are. But yeah, I am excited. Oh, the second book also won a Hugo Award, and then the third one won a Hugo and a Nebula. This is about to be the best science fiction series I've ever read in my life. But yeah, I will see you in 2 days on January 1st when I'm allowed to start this book so that I can get going on the vlog portion of this video. Hello friends, and Happy New Year! It is officially 2026. We're here, we made it, and I already have a reading update for you. Not because I did any reading this morning, it is about 2 p.m. I didn't read this morning. I did do a little bit of reading yesterday, so is that cheating? Kind of, because I started reading this book in 2025, but like, it's barely anything. I read the prologue and the first 2 chapters, so I'm literally 41 pages into it. Like, I still have over 400 pages to go. It's fine. There are no consequences to any of this. Time is fake anyway. Whatever. But essentially, yesterday I went to a hockey game with my boyfriend and some friends, and then came home, and I had about an hour to kill before my actual, like, New Year's celebration plans. So I was like, let me spend this time just reading, and so I did, and I am very much enjoying it so far. It's very strange. It's got like a kind of omniscient narrator, but not in a traditional way. Like, the writing style is so unique. Like, I've never really read anything written like this before. But we have this continent, which I can actually show you the map. We have this continent called the Stillness, and it is all of the land on Earth. It's become one giant mass, and it's called the Stillness, but it's like never really still at all. There are constant like tremors in the earth, and people are always having to rebuild structures because everything's constantly shaking. But we've got these different communities. We see in the prologue this guy, I really don't understand what happened in the prologue, but this guy caused a giant tremor to destroy a city in order to do something. I don't really know. We also are introduced to this type of person. Who are you? I don't remember. Oh no, the prologue tells us a lot of stuff, actually. I forgot about that. It kind of like bounces back and forth between a bunch of different things. But, Stone something, who are you? Stone Eaters, that's what they're called. Okay. I don't know why that, like, was completely gone. They're like this strange race of people, and I'm very curious to learn more about that. We also meet Essen, whose son died because her husband, the father of the son, found out that he was an orogene, Orogene. And these are people who can control the tremors in the earth, and there's like superstition around them that says like the orogenes cause the tremors in the earth and all this destruction, so people don't trust them. They often kill them or report them to the government. And Essen is an orogene. Her husband did not know that, so when he found out that his son was one of them, he killed him. And then she doesn't know where her daughter is at all. She's kind of missing. And then we get to the first chapter, and we follow Essen here, but it's in the second person. Like, the narrator literally says, hold on. The chapter is called You at the End, and it starts off with saying, "You are she is you. You are Essen. Remember? The woman whose son is dead. You're an orogene who's been living in the little nothing town of Tiramo for 10 years. Only 3 people here know what you are. 2 of them you gave birth to. Well, 1 left who knows now." So I thought that was fascinating how we have a little bit in second person, and we follow a little bit of the aftermath of her finding her son dead. And then in the second chapter, we cut to Demaya, and she's an orogene. She did not know, but she found out, and her parents, well, her mom specifically, locked her in a barn and reported her to the government. So we meet her and this government official who's like, "I'm going to take you to this place where you're going to train for this certain thing." And then we cut back to Essen for the next chapter. So I guess it's got a little bit of a back and forth. But then chapter 3 is, chapter 3, it's back to being Essen. So maybe it'll go back and forth between them. I hope we go back to this Stone Eater at some point and find out what her deal is, because I'm so curious about that. They're like people made of stone, kind of? I don't know. But I've got plenty of book to find out what's gonna happen, so I will read more of this today and hopefully make a good, decent way into it, like read a good chunk of it before my next update, so I can have a little bit more information for you guys, because I feel like this has just been me rambling incoherently. But yeah, I'm going to do some more reading today, and I'm very much looking forward to that. Okay, friends, it is now 6:30 on January 2nd, and I've got an update on the 5th season. I almost said The Stone Sky. That is book 3 in the series. I don't know why I just pulled that out of my brain, but whatever. 5th season, I have just surpassed the halfway point. I am now 231 pages into this book, and I'm having a fantastic time. I'm a little bit mad at myself for putting this off for so long because I'm enjoying it immensely. I never really think about the fact that I love post-apocalyptic fiction. I mean, there's a reason that my 2 favorite reads of 2025 were This Is Not a Test by Courtney Summers and The Road by Cormac McCarthy. Like, I just love things that take place after the apocalypse for some reason. But yeah. We have gotten a 3rd main character in this book, so we are mostly following Essen. We're also still following Demaya, and we also are following Cyan, short for Cyanite, Syenite. She is also an orogene. She works for the Fulcrum, which is the thing that I could not remember the name of that Demaya was going to, where basically orogenes learn how to use their magical abilities, and they're also like trained kind of like the military is. And she is on a mission. She's like the way the like ranking system works in the Fulcrum is that you like get a new ring for each like level up. So she currently has 4 rings, and that's pretty good, but still in like the lower half. She is partnered up with this guy, Alabaster, who has 10 rings, and he does some really weird things with his orogeny, I assume is how it's pronounced, the magic. And Cyan is like, I don't know what is happening here. And they're also trying to make a baby because that is part of their duty, I guess, as this lower class of people is to have babies when they're told to. So that's a thing. Um, they are at this coastal town to clear out some coral that's been growing in their harbor. And Cyan is the one actually doing the clearing out of the coral, but Alabaster is there as like a mentor. Really, he's there because the government wants the two of them to have a baby together because they think it will produce a very powerful orogene. But like on paper, he's there to mentor her in this activity. But this is like the last chapter that happened. Spoilers, I guess. She goes to clear out this coral, and there's this weird obstruction that she can't sense the way she can sense everything else in the earth. And so she tries to clear it, and it turns out to be an obelisk, which I don't think I mentioned this, but part of the world building is that there's these weird obelisks, these like giant stone obelisks just in the sky, and they are remnants from past civilizations. The name The Fifth Season is a reference to the fact that these seasons or eras seem to not repeat themselves exactly, but like every 5th season or era is like an apocalyptic event. They mention the boiling season, they mention the season of teeth, they mention several different seasons in the past. And we are approaching a 5th season, I assume. But anyway, Cyan pulls this giant thing out of the water, and it is an obelisk. And not only that, but there is a person like kind of halfway out of the obelisk, a very dead person. But she can tell that this is a stone eater. So we are getting a little bit more lore on that soon, I hope, because I'm still thinking about that prologue and all of that stuff that happened. So that is what's happening in Cyan's POV. In Demaya's, she is at the Fulcrum, kind of like learning training. We haven't seen a ton of what she's going through, but she's just like undergoing her studies and stuff at the Fulcrum. And then in Essence POV, which is still in second person and is still really fascinating to read that way, she comes across a boy on the road and kind of like takes him in out of some like motherly instinct. And he's got some weird magic of his own that Essen has no idea what's happening. He turns this creature to stone to like save their lives. And she's like, huh. And it's like that John Mulaney meme where it's like, now we don't have time to unpack all of that because they're still like very much in danger when this happens, so they have to leave the area and kind of like run. And that's the last chapter that I read from her POV, that is what that happened. So very curious to learn what that's about. But yes, I realized partway through that we don't know for a fact that all of these timelines are happening chronologically. Like, all of Essen's chapters are told to us in chronological order. All of Cyan's chapters are in chronological order. All of Demaya's chapters are in chronological order. But there's no indication that they're happening interspersed the way they are, like that this chapter of Demaya's that is followed by this chapter of Essence actually happened in that order, you know? So they could be 3 completely different timelines, and we just really don't know, and that is so intriguing to me. I'm kind of hoping that they're not, that there's some like timeline fuckery going on. So yeah, very much enjoying this. so looking forward to continuing on. I might update you one more time before the end of this, or I might update you just at the end. It depends on when I read and if I am enjoying it too much to actually stop and give you an update. So we'll see how that goes, but I am going to do a little bit more reading tonight and crack back into this because I'm just having a fabulous time and I'm so happy that this is my first read of the year. Hello friends, it is now 4 p.m. on the 3rd, and I've just finished the 5th season, and holy cow, was this book so fantastic. This was an amazing first book of the year, kicking it off so strong. I loved this. I had an amazing time reading this. I was absolutely hooked the entire time. Yeah, there was some stuff that I didn't tell you about, but I did figure out some reveals before they happened. Shortly after my last update, I would say I was about like 250 pages into this book. I had a theory pop into mind about how the 3 POVs are connected, how all the timelines match up, and the characters are related to each other. I'm not going to tell you what my theory was because I did end up being correct, and I don't want to spoil that, but if you've read this book and you know how that all matches up to each other, then you know what my theory was, and I was correct. There was another theory that I had very late in the game. It was at page like 400 when I realized who the man in the beginning of the book, in the prologue, was. It like just suddenly hit me and I'm like, of course that's who it is. Yeah, this was a wild ride and I loved every minute of it, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing with the series because this is the first book in a trilogy. So I've got the Obelisk Gate and the Stone Sky still to go, and they are both also Hugo Award winners, and one of them, yeah, the Stone Sky, the final book in the series, also won a Nebula Award, which is also like the Hugo Award, like a very big name in the sci-fi world. So I am expecting them to be just as amazing as this one. Hopefully it doesn't take me too long to continue with the series, but yeah, this was masterfully crafted. I have read from N.K. Jemisin before. I read The City We Became, is that what it's called? And I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. I didn't feel the need to continue on with the series, so I never read the sequel, but it was still good. This kind of gives the same vibes as Octavia E. Butler, not in terms of like anything I can quantify, but like I feel the same way reading this book as I have reading Octavia E. Butler's books, which again, I haven't read a ton of, but I've read Kindred, and then I've read the Earthseed duology, Parable of the Sower and Parable of the Talents, which are also, those 2 books are post-apocalyptic fiction. So maybe that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from it. But I feel like if you like Octavia E. Butler's works, then you'd probably like N.K. Jemisin, and vice versa. Also, though, they're both very popular authors, so I feel like if you've read one, you probably read the other. Yeah, this was a fantastic first read. I'm very happy that the scavenger hunt brought me here. Now, though, comes the problem of figuring out what my second read is going to be. But I will figure that out on my own. I won't have that in here. This brings us to the end of the vlog, and a very successful one it was. If you've enjoyed it, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. You can subscribe to my channel for more content, and that way I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, everyone.